Good afternoon and welcome. I'm Karen Marsdale and I'm President and CEO at the Greater Reading Chamber. And you're tuning in to another member spotlight. And I am very excited to have a gentleman with me today. The name will not escape you, I am sure. I'm talking today with Jason Hurleman, who is president and co-owner of Adelphia Seafood. And who hasn't heard of Adelphia Seafood?
Thanks for having us.
Well, it's a pleasure. I'm a customer. And I'm very, very thrilled that you're a chamber member. So I'd love to get into this conversation about many things and many facets of the business. We were talking before we came on camera about the fact that the business is 50 years old, and you and your business partner have purchased the business from your dad and your uncle, I believe?
Correct.
And so there's a family business component, and there's history and legacy there. And did you always see yourself in this position as you were kind of coming up the ranks, or was it not interesting to you until a light bulb went off?
For myself, this is kind of my passion. Following my father's footsteps from the time him and my uncle purchased the business in 1973, the year I was born. I've kind of been there my entire life. I've lived it, correct. Yeah. So it's really been a dream of mine to be in the position I'm in today, so it's very exciting.
Tell me then, Jason, if you've had all this history in the business, you saw, what your dad was doing, and you came into the business, you grew up in it, what maybe one or two things that have changed dramatically in the industry that you've seen?
Well, there's a couple of things. When we talk about food safety, it's number one.
And I see that as one of the things we want to discuss.
Correct. Food safety. That's been first and foremost one of the changes that's happened for the good. Sustainability. As we talk about future generations of wanting to eat seafood and future generations of our product, and that is that whether it be shrimp or tuna or swordfish, what's in the oceans, and that's really, we're still a very wild-based industry.
Huh. I never thought about that. So talk a little bit about that. You're still a wild-based industry.
A lot of, the number one selling item that's out there is either tuna or shrimp, depending upon who you ask. And both of those items mainly are shrimp being farm raised, tuna being wild. Okay. Canned tuna leading the charge. People talk about overfishing, but there's been a lot of insurgents in government organizations around the world to help have a quota system and have seasonality, so that the tuna, when they're out there, they can have offspring for future generations, so that we can continue to have tuna for our kids and grandkids and so on and so forth.
So you really take an interest in this bigger picture, if you will.
We do.
And I think that, do you think most of your industry does, or do you think that are people looking more to short term as opposed to you're looking at long term and the sustainability?
I think the trend is changing towards more long term.
Okay, interesting.
Definitely.
And how did you grow up going into the fish market and doing all those things that sound like, oh my gosh, you must have to work 20 hours a day?
Right. I actually did. We used to go to the Philadelphia Fish Market and Fulton Fish Market in New York City with my father and go on vendor trips to Long Island to see the clam and oyster
Sure.
beds. Or go to where they bring all the ground fish, which is cod, haddock, flounder, into New Bedford, off the boats and watch them unload.
Right.
So there's some of the trips that I did as a youngster, and I still remember those to this day.
I was going to say that probably had a great impact on the fact that, wow, this is, I'm out here, I'm seeing the product, and then I'm seeing it, at the retail level.
Right.
Which is always really, I think, fascinating. Particularly in the food industry, I'm always fascinated because it's not like the product that can sit on the shelf,
right.
And it doesn't get doesn't do better with longevity, if you will.
No.
So you really have to be smart about your buying.
Correct.
So how many folks in the business are you doing all the buying for all of the entire operation?
There's three of us actually that do it.
Okay.
And we share the responsibilities. I still buy a lot of the fresh.
Okay.
But some of the fresh fish, that is, some of the other fresh items or the frozen items were split up amongst the two other buyers.
Okay. And did you train them, or were they like you that sort of grew up in this
Some of
industry?
both. One of the individuals that's there has been in the industry for 20 years. The other person's new, has been in the buying field, been a purchaser at other organizations.
Okay.
But we've kind of like most people within Berks County, we're not surrounded by any oceans, so we have to kind of teach them our industry.
Sure, sure. And what's your reach? Again, tell us a little bit about the reach of the company and how far you go into your footprint.
So we go from Cleveland, Ohio to New York City, just south of Binghamton, New York, and just north of Baltimore with trucks.
I wonder if people know that you've got that large of a footprint. That's really amazing. How quickly has that grown? Has it been, within your tenure? How far did your dad take it, and then how far are you taking it?
It's been a slow climb. We expanded right before 2007 with some help with some corporate business. That's helped us grow and push out to the Cleveland and New York City areas. We've always kind of been in Eastern Pennsylvania and New Jersey prior to that time. But with that, we've definitely increased the amount of what we call business saturation within those markets to help us make it more worthwhile to go to those regions, increase our reach, and get our name out there.
So, is the corporate business, when you talk corporate business, I'm assuming you're talking either restaurant and or supermarket, or what does that look like?
Wholesale. Versus retail.
Right.
And it's a 50-50 blend between what we do today on our wholesale side.
Okay.
Our retail stores, which we have 3 of them, Pottsville, Fairgrounds, and West Lawn, represents about 10 to 12% of our overall business.
Okay, so you're really that growth really is in that commercial market.
It is. Mm-hmm.
Some of the other things that I think about is when you talk about seafood and about the freshness and also about the food safety. Have you found I know there's a lot of conversation about government overreach and a lot of regulation and challenge to businesses. Would you say, because obviously you hear whether it's fish or whether it's chicken or whatever it might be, that there can be huge challenges. I think obviously we live in a country we're very blessed that our food is safe for the most part. But would you say that that's kind of a good thing, or do you think that there's still some overreach?
I think it's a good thing for our industry that the fact that they're bringing food safety from a government perspective is becoming more the norm as opposed to the exception. I think a lot of things that have brought that to light over the years are, you had the spinach crisis, in California.
Right.
You had the peanut crisis in Atlanta, where you had a peanut producer, selling tainted peanuts that ultimately people died from. I don't want to be that guy.
Sure.
My partner, we've made a commitment to not only our employees but to our customers that we want to make sure that the product that we're giving to them, we can stand behind it, and we're doing everything we can in our power to make it safe. Well,
I think that's great. I think your products are delicious and stop on a regular basis at the Fairgrounds Market. So, you're in our menus quite frequently. One thing I do want to ask before we need to depart today is, how about the key lime pie? And where did that come from?
So my father retired in 2007. He moved to Naples, Florida.
Okay.
And he ran into Randy, who owned Randy's Fish Market, who had his own line of key lime pies. So he said, "These are the best pies I've ever had." He called me up and said, "You got to start buying these." That's kind of how it happened.
I don't know if has it been successful for you? Because they sure are good.
Yeah, it has been, actually.
Good,
yeah.
Good. Because, you go to the fish market and there's a key lime pie, and you're like, I think I'll try this.
Right.
And then it's like everyone that you entertain and loves it, and like, I'll just keep, doing the key lime pie instead of baking.
Right,
so
right. It's a nice clean finish to a seafood dinner.
Right? It is. It's just it's a perfect blend. So, well, you know what? This has been really fun because I learned a lot, and I'm just really appreciate you coming out today and teaching us a little bit more about the fish industry. I think it must be fascinating to be there, and we really appreciate your membership in the chamber as well. So
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Appreciate it. Yep.
Take care.
Thank you.